my people. It is your brother Vandor. And can we believe that the Democrats got shellacked? Let's go. So it appears Tuesday night was a great night for Republicans in the election. Not only did the GOP flip the governor's office in Virginia, but also the lieutenant governor's office and the state attorney general's office was flipped to Republican as well. They also have made some significant gains in the New Jersey State Assembly and in the New Jersey State Senate. Even more remarkable, they almost overtook the governorship in New Jersey. The incumbent, Phil Murphy, narrowly defeated his Republican challenger, Jack Ciatarelli. Now, many pundits started initially saying that Jack Ciatarelli had no chance of even coming close. That did not stop him from coming within striking distance of becoming the next governor of New Jersey. Now, obviously, one of the most surprising elements of this whole entire race was that Joe Biden had won the state of Virginia by over 10 points, a double-digit lead from his competitor Donald Trump in the 2020 election. Now, one could easily be forgiven for thinking that Terry McAuliffe, former governor of Virginia, would do well in a state that Joe Biden, in less than a year ago, was elected with a 10-point lead. That seems like a very blue state to me, and it seems like a great argument for the impossible climb by any Republican challenger to overtake or win in a Virginia election. Nonetheless, Mr. Youngfield, Glenn Youngfield, a political newcomer, never before elected to political office, ascended and has become Virginia's next governor, defying all of the odds. How can this happen? Well, naturally, one must turn to the executive branch, the Mr. 10-point lead Joe Biden. Naturally, one must turn to the head Democrat who campaigned with Mr. Terry McAuliffe. Actually, one has to draw those connections because Kamala Harris, Barack Obama, and all the other Democratic superstars, including President Joe Biden, has been out within this last week to visit Mr. McAuliffe and the weeks leading up to the election to support him, to help his candidacy. They brought all the Democratic star power, all the progressive big heavy hitters. Nonetheless, Glenn Youngkin, a political novice, a newcomer to the arena of politics, easily defeated Terry McAuliffe, Democratic seasoned politician, former governor, assisted by all of the establishment. What does this mean for the future? Well, as interested as I am in politics, I am nowhere near as qualified as our Vice President, Kamala Harris. Let's hear it from her, in her own words, what she believes this election is going to represent in the future. Let's dive in.
And Virginia, I'm here because the president and I care deeply about Terry McAuliffe, about the Commonwealth of Virginia, and about the future of our nation. Now, you all know that every 4 years, when this election happens for governor of Virginia, it's a tight election, it's a close election, and it is a bellwether for what happens in the rest of the country. You know, the last time I was standing with Terry, I saw a bunch of signs and they said, "Don't Texas, Virginia." Right? Let's not Texas, Virginia. Because you see, what happens in Virginia will in large part determine what happens in 2022, 2024, and on.
All right, my people, so it appears a big question as to why people are curious or concerned about this election is they don't know why. If Joe Biden currently just got elected in a very short span of time, Why would the American public vote for something so different, so counter to his administration's causes and their main messaging? Could some of the reasoning to all of the Republican leading polls and election results be because of the Democratic wokeness on the left? It appears that that is the case, especially when it comes in the context of critical race theory being taught in our public schools. It is notable that in the wake of these losses, instead of conceding or stepping back a small ground, the Democrats have decided to proceed in a large and big unprecedented way, continuing on with their infrastructure package that is unprecedented in every single spending category in the U.S. government.
And we will not be distracted. We will not be dissuaded. We will not be deterred. This election is too important.
A number of the Virginia Democrats were very critical of the decision not to put the infrastructure bill on the floor before the election, and they say that contributed to Terry McAuliffe's loss. Do you believe the House Democrats in any way were partially responsible for what happened on Tuesday?
Wasn't that a question you asked?
Similar.
What I said was any sign of progress is always good for the public when they understand what it is, and I think they understand infrastructure pretty well. So it would have been better if we had. I don't know, because I haven't seen the data. Perhaps you have. I think there were other issues at work in that election, and it remains not for me to make an observation unsubstantiated by data and science and fact. I'm very scientific about elections, district by district, within the district, region by region, and we'll see what that is. But it was not a good night.
Last night was a difficult evening for Democrats. The Democratic Party has wildly misread their mandate and let the radical left run the country.
So during all that campaigning and all the cycles of adverts and election ads that ran, one of the biggest and main themes to all of this ad work, and especially on the Democratic side, one of the main themes to what they do and what they say is racist terminology, racist accusatory language. Now, Mr. Glenn Youngkin, he was thoroughly accused of being a racist, being nothing more than a Trump supporter, being nothing more than a puppet for Donald Trump. However, he never campaigned with Donald Trump, and he is not a racist for anything that I can see. Certainly nothing in his career, or no one who has worked with him in the business private sector have ever accused him of being a racist. In fact, his lieutenant governor, the first African American person in the state, the Commonwealth of Virginia, she is an African American woman. However, she does not go in with the narrative. She supports Republican conservatism. She supports gun rights. She supports capitalism. She is not a woke, progressive black woman. Thus, she does not get the same level of respect from the media. She is seen as some kind of Trojan horse, Republican, insurgent African American trying to preach white supremacy. It's so funny to me that African Americans this year are especially being accused of being white supremacists. They first started with Larry Elder. Now it's this Republican lieutenant governor woman and anybody who they disagree with. Governor Tim Scott, Senator Tim Scott of the Carolinas, he is apparently a racist as well. He's a white supremacist, even though he's black. All of this is nonsense to me. and they use these kind of language. They use this kind of language that is dog whistle. They said that Mr. Youngkin rings the dog whistle of racism all the time, not citing one side, not citing one source, not one thing about his policies that are specifically racist, other than him not supporting critical race theory in school for our toddlers and for our pre-K, for our elementary school children. They shouldn't be taught that they are inherently racist from birth. That's how he thinks, and that is how the people of Virginia think as well. All this to say, why is a party shaped on fundamental divisive issues? Why would a party thrive under that? Any party that is doing that, whether it be the left or the right, should feel ashamed of themselves. Now, I'm going to show you a few examples of this dog whistle racism that was never cited with actual context of things that happened in the real reality. Let's dive in.
Yeah, let's be clear. Some of it was dog whistle.
Yeah.
Right? Some of it was dog whistle racism.
1,000%.
But for a lot of voters, that's not what it was. It was more this anxiety when it comes to schooling, having had their children out of school for so long, and obviously those not being choices that they made, but that were dictated for them. They may have agreed with them, but many clearly disagreed.
Do you adjust with this new propaganda, disinformation, fairly veiled dog whistle race stuff, or do you keep trying to fight on, policy?
This is the problem with Democrats, that they want to do the latter. They seem to believe that if they just do good government policy, that somehow people will understand that they are better for them. It's better for you to be with us because we're going to give you this policy, this policy, and this policy, while the Republicans are fighting with a sledgehammer. They're using like a blowtorch, and Democrats are coming out with like a full gauge.
Well, first of all, I appreciate, and I always say that you do want to talk about the issues, and I think you've been true to that your whole career. What I will say is, it's not just the Democrats that sometimes wander off in bizarre directions. The Republican Party mixed in with some of the stuff that I think you would like. I don't think that this CRT stuff, and I keep beating the drum about it because it really lands badly with me, is good. I think some of the stuff is dog whistling. And so, look, both parties can see now that there's a way forward. This guy was more substantive and less inflammatory than Donald Trump. It paid off for him. I hope Republicans take that seriously.
All right, my people, so the final conclusion is very simple, and I'm not gonna keep you all for very long. Let people make their own decisions up. If race is a fundamentally divisive issue and something that is not easily black and white, maybe we should just stick to the facts in schools. Maybe instead of teaching people whatever we want, we should get input from their parents. And that is exactly why Mr. Glenn Youngkin has won in Virginia, and exactly why the Republicans did a clean sweep, almost even in New Jersey, on Tuesday election night in November. This is the reason why we as a society pay our taxes. This is the reason we do that, because the government is supposed to help the people. The government is not supposed to be an obstacle for the people. The government is not supposed to hinder the people or harm the people or their children in any way. When people say that they do not want a forcibly jabbed, mandated system to where you have to take something, even if you don't think you're going to get sick, that is a problem. When any government mandates that a woman has to bear the childbirth from their body, make sure to deliver a baby that they did not want, that goes against my beliefs as libertarian, free, unaffiliated style of politics. Now, I do understand that people have their own beliefs, but when your beliefs start to infringe upon the beliefs of others, that is when they have gone one step too far. If only Mr. Joe Biden had realized that when he had made his mandates for workers who are doing things like essential work, like taking care of us, like flying our planes. Maybe Let's Go Brandon wouldn't be so popular if Mr. Biden would have been the uniter like he promised. Instead, he is consistently dividing us, not apparently wanting to be the president of the unvaccinated because he talks so much crap about them. Not only just that, anyone who does not support his Build Back Better plan in full detail. Now, I don't know if you all remember the coronavirus relief package, his first big major bill, Mr. Joe Biden. He was supposed to compromise with the Republicans, and he started at something really high. I do believe it was 1.9 trillion. And then when they came back to the bargaining table to bargain with the Republicans, it was still 1.9 trillion, meaning he didn't bridge the gap at all. And the same thing is happening in the whole infrastructure package. However, some of the more moderate senators are not dealing with it. Kyrsten Sinema and Joe Manchin are in highly vulnerable territory. And if they just vote for anything that Mr. Joe Biden says and agrees with, the same thing that happened on Tuesday is going to happen to their asses. And they are not in it for Mr. Joe Biden exclusively. They are politicians. My people, we need to do what is right for our constituents. We need to be the leader who we said we were going to be, Mr. Joe Biden, and that is not happening. Hence the shellacking Mr. Joe Biden received. Critical race theory is not a real thing. It happens. There are systemic problems, and we should focus on that on a national scale. But to poison our children's mind with divisive teaching is a shame and should be forbidden, because nobody's child needs to be taught that they are inherently wrong from the age of 5 on up. My people, we are American citizens and we should stand for something. Freedom, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Nothing should get in the way of that. Thank you, my people. I appreciate you watching this episode of Vandor the Source today. We are coming back with more hard-hitting episodes. It is not that I don't like the president, nor do I have a problem with the GOP. However, we have to hold these people accountable. This cult-like personality syndrome where we honor the elected leaders we have just based upon their personality and not based upon the policies has to go. That cannot be the way we govern, nor we expect our elected leaders to govern. My people, it is time to dive in. Let's go.
You can read so much into all of that last night. I mean, I think it should be a call that all of us have to be more attentive to the people back home. And I've been trying to do that from day one, and I've been saying this for many, many months. People have concerns. People are concerned. They very much so. And for us to go down a path that we've been going, and they were trying to accelerate it, and it has been slowed down, I think that we need to take our time and do it right. So you can read anything you want out of it. The bottom line is, what do you read out of it? We have a divided country. What do you read out of it? We have a divided country that needs to be united, and you can't unite it by just doing about one party system.
Do you think the White House has been listening to that message?
I hope so.